All right, so in this video, I want to go over some of the common misconceptions that runners have as it relates to foot strike. So the first thing I want to say is, if you are a runner and you're not having any pain, congratulations, that's a rare thing actually, in that 80% of runners tend to have some sort of injury or pain while they're running. So if you're running without pain, I wouldn't be too concerned right now with about where my foot strike is, okay? Meaning that a lot of times runners will just naturally fall into a pattern of efficiency that is perfect for their body. And if you've been running, especially if you've been running for a long time, and you're not really having any issues or any pain problems that keep creeping up, I wouldn't worry too much about what my foot strike is, okay? And you know, if you've heard that it's like, oh, I've heard that forefoot running or midfoot running is better, I wonder what I'm doing. But if you're not having any pain, don't go look to change something that isn't broken, okay? So that's the first thing that I like to address, is that I get people asking a lot of questions about foot strike, but then always my question to them is, well, are you having any problems? If you're not having any problems, don't try to fix something that's not broken. Chances are your body has kind of figured out an efficient pattern for running, and you should just stick with it. Now, if there are different things that you want to change with your running, then as far as like, hey, I want to increase my speed, or I want to increase my distance, or some things like that, then you can start to think about it maybe just a little bit. But even with those things, your body will naturally fall into a certain efficiency of pattern that it likes to run with, okay? So if you're not having any issues, don't think about it too much. The next thing that I want to talk about, I have some notes here, so I don't, in case I forget what I'm going to talk about. The next thing I want to talk about is foot strike. Where you land is dependent on speed. This is another common misconception that I see. And so let's say that you're a fairly new runner, and let's say that you're not a significantly fast runner, right? This could be someone running in the 9s, the 10s, 11s, whatever, right? Per minute mile. And you've heard from something, or just from, you've like, hey, I've heard the best way to run is more forefoot or midfoot. If you're a slow runner and you're trying to run on the front of your feet, that's extremely inefficient, okay? In that when you walk, right, everyone heel strikes when they walk, okay? So like the speed dictates that you're going to heel strike, okay? And so now, let's take the opposite of walking, and that is someone running very fast. Most people, in order to run fast and efficient, right, they are going to have to come forward to be more on their toes. Their body is moving quicker, and so the legs have to turn over quicker, and so then you actually have to come down more on the front or middle of your foot than the heel strike, okay? So if you're someone that's new and you're running fairly slow, and let's say you go videotape yourself or have someone videotape you, and you're doing some heel striking, then I would say that's kind of normal, okay? And again, going back to, are you having pain issues? So if someone is a slow runner, and let's say that they're, I'm just trying to think of people that I've worked with. Let's say that they're heel striking, but you know, and we'll talk about this later, that it's fairly close to their pelvis, but definitely out in front, and they're just having a little bit of some pain. We're probably going to work a lot more on strengthening as being the issue than the foot strike being the issue, okay? Because it takes more strength to actually be more of a forefoot, midfoot runner than it does to be being on your heel, okay? So if I'm dealing with a new runner who's running pretty slow, or it could be someone who's been running for a while, and they're having some pain, and I notice that when I videotape them that they're heel striking, and maybe heel striking out in front, We may do some things to speed their cadence up just a little bit to try to bring that stride length down just a little bit, so they're not heel striking quite as much, but I'm not gonna put most of my emphasis on that. It's usually a strength problem that's causing the pain. And if I don't address the strength and immediately move to, oh, you should be running like this, and this is what I see a lot, it's like someone who's not that strong of a runner wants to try to run more forefoot or midfoot because they think that's better in a way, but it actually requires more strength than what they're already doing, and it causes bigger problems, okay? So if you're a slow runner and you're heel striking a little bit, that's not the area you want to address first if you're having some pain issues. You actually want to address the strengthening side of that. And as you address the strengthening side of that, that is typically what will cause some of your pain to go away. And you're dealing with the impact of running as opposed to changing your foot strike pattern, okay? So that's just another common misconception. Slow runners trying to run on their toes actually creates a lot of problems, okay? All right, next point I want to go to is, is sort of along line with those issues, is that let's say you are a runner who is working on speeding up, right? Let's say you're trying to qualify for a certain race, or you just want to set a goal for running whatever distance at a certain time. And as you're speeding up, you may actually start to shift more out of a heel strike out in front, but more into a midfoot. Or I would say the majority of runners that I see probably do, as they speed up, will still strike on the heel, but the foot's a little bit more underneath. The heel is hitting first, but it's not like this, it's more like this. As you start to speed up, if you start to move more into and you find some efficiency into being a little bit more landing on the foot as a whole or towards the toes, that takes a lot more strength to do that, right? So again, there is a strength component that is needed to be able to run more on the front, and that should be where a lot of emphasis is made, okay? And as you become a better runner and your speed increases, you may be experimenting with this a little bit. And a lot of times people will say like, yeah, I tried running with a more of a forefoot, midfoot strike, and I did find that there was an efficiency there. Like it felt better, like I could turn over a little quicker, it helped me run a little faster. But then they usually say like, but I couldn't maintain it that long, right? Meaning because they still need to be able to build some strength in the calves, right? So just remember that if you are a runner who is looking to change in this direction a little bit, and it could be because as you've increased your speed and mileage, you are having some pain issues, and you feel like, maybe if it's the heel striking out in front that is causing that issue, and that your body, some of that force going up through your joints, and you're trying to think about moving into this position a little bit, again, always work on the strengthening component as you move into that direction. Because being more here puts a lot of demand on your calves, right? And I've worked with a lot of runners who say that they can actually maintain an efficient, more forefoot, midfoot strike for a certain amount of time. Maybe it's a marathon, but they can only do it for like 20 miles. And then as they fatigue, everybody moves into a heel strike, right? That's what's kind of interesting, is just to emphasize that point again, that it takes more demand to run like that, is people who do run more forefoot, midfoot, as they fatigue, almost everyone ends up heel striking, right? And you'll see this at the end of marathons where people are literally just rolling that foot through trying to get to the end, right? Because their legs are shot. So it's really the elite runner, right, that can be really strong, really fast, that can maintain that position, and needs to, and finds that perfect efficiency to be able to run like that. So who is somebody that I would want to try to change, right? I was thinking about this as I was preparing for this talk. if I have a runner that comes in who's running pretty fast, right? We're talking more in the 6 and the 7s and the 8s, minute mile type things. And they're really heel striking out at front and they're having a lot of pain, that's someone that I'm looking to move into this position, right? Always strengthening goes with it, but they're running at a speed where they can probably move into a more efficient position by looking to strike further up in front of the foot. And so for whatever reason, as their speed has increased, they've stuck with a bigger heel strike and they're running heavy. It's kind of how I see it, right? And so they're really landing heavy. And so this is where we move into like increasing their cadence a little bit, and which tends to shorten their stride just a hair, and teaching them how to be a little bit more light on their feet. And that tends to help them as the strength matches that position to have less pain. So that's who, when I think about really who do I try to recommend running more on that forefoot, midfoot, that's who. A faster runner who's still heel striking out in front quite a bit. Let's see. So the last thing that, and this is a fairly common statement now, but the last thing I want to emphasize with you is that let's say you're just kind of interested in this topic and you videotape yourself running, which you can do, anyone can do that. You just set your iPhone or cell phone up against something and run past it. Most phones now have a little slow-mo feature where you can watch yourself. What you want to look at is not as important as to where your foot lands, but as to where it lands in relation to your body, right? And so the more important thing is to have your foot land underneath your pelvis, okay? So as that foot comes down, whether it be coming down like this, like this, like this, like this, I always look at when I'm looking at a video is, does the heel, right? I draw a line from the heel, and it would probably look more like this, right? Does that heel intersect the front of the pelvis, okay? Or get close to it. That's what you want to look for, right? Is the back of the heel intersecting with the front of the pelvis. The closer you can get to that, the better your position will be. Now again, if you're not running very fast, that's not going to happen. It just doesn't, right? It's unless you're just sort of just doing this almost jogging in place kind of thing, right? But you want that heel to intersect with underneath the pelvis just like that, okay? So that's kind of what you want to look for. You'll also notice, right, the more straight your shin is, right? So that foot will come through like this and then come down, right, as your body's moving over top of it. Is key, as opposed to being with your shin being at this angle, okay? The shin should be as close to straight as possible. That usually means that your pelvis is over top of it and you're bringing your leg through, up and down, which then helps you to push backwards to push yourself forward, okay? That's why that's important. And it also puts everything just in a little bit of flexion into the hip, the knee, and the ankle to absorb the force of the running. So look for those things. So yeah, so this is just something I've been thinking about a lot lately and going over with some patients who've come in who are runners and concerned about foot strike. So I just thought it would be a good topic to go over, and hopefully this clears up some of the things you've been reading about or thinking about foot strike. And if you have any questions, of course, just comment below. And thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you again soon.